Yeah, thank you for joining. So we have Oliver from Germany. Munich? It's from
Munich, yes. Munich in Germany.
Munich, Germany.
München, yes.
I'm talking from Orlando, Florida, USA. Who else is there? So Anna, where are you joining from? And Shkulta from
Hey
Kosovo.
everyone, I'm from Kosovo.
Oh,
Nice to
great.
meet you.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
Thank
It's
you.
night over there, no?
Yes, it's 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Same as Germany.
Oh, that's not too many hours difference for me. I had 2 o'clock here, so only 5 hours.
5 hours, yeah. You have already summertime. We are still on winter time. That's why we have
Exactly.
only 5 hours. We will have 6 hours again in end of March.
Yeah, so we have Hayden. Where are you joining from, Hayden? I think just because we are project managers, so we should get started. Set by example, that's what we say. Okay, so let's get started. We have today Oliver Lehmann. Oliver is well known in the project management space. He's a trainer, so a lot of people, as I met when I was studying for my PMP, some of his book from Oliver. So I have been in project management for around 40 years. So a lot of experience and wisdom in that head of Mr. Oliver. And more than 20 years of experience teaching university, facilitating PMP review courses. So a lot of people have passed the same because of you. You have done a great job there. And another thing that I see from Oliver that he was one of the reviewers of the PM book version 7.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
so you are responsible for that book that nobody understands.
Not quite the sponsor. I was just one of the reviewers.
Okay.
And reviewers don't review the entire book. It's typically that you have a section of the book, and that's what I did. Some sections of the book, and the same thing for the 6th and for the 5th edition, by the way.
I was for the 5th edition, not 7th.
Also, no, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Oh, wow.
All of them. All of them.
Wow. Yeah, I never had the time to do that. It takes a lot of time to review. So now I am in a volunteering for reviewing the virtual classes for next year.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get started. So the topic that we have for today is, should organizations and projects go agile or be situational? That's a big question. So I'm gonna leave Mr. Oliver Lehmann to talk to us about it and what he has in his mind.
Yeah, a lot of things that I have on my mind. Welcome first, everyone, and thank you for joining us here. I hope it will be interesting for you the next hour. I have some disagreements with people in the project management field, and I have some opinions based on actually a bit more than 20 years, I think now, of experience. And let me explain first what the basics are of what I want to show you. Can you allow me to share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Very good, very good. Still not. I have some little pictures here, as I'm very much a fan of visualization. Cannot.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Oh, Let me save on the list. Try now.
Gotcha. Yep, have it. Thank you so much. I'd like to show you a picture here. And this picture is the basis of my concept of situational leadership. You see two extremes here. It comes from sports psychology. The topic, the concept comes from sports psychology. And in sports psychology, there is a tension field between two words. There is an area between two extremes. The extremes are called closed skill and open skill. I have some examples here from skating. I think these are very good examples to explain what closed skill and open skill is about. On the closed skill side, you see this lady, this figure skater, and closed skill is activities, is disciplines, it's professions, is sport here, where the quality of the performance and in the end the success in a sports event of the performance is very much predictable to some degree. It is learnable. This lady has a program. She shows her program, and she has trained these program hundreds of times, trying to get it better and better and better, remove some flaws in the program, some things that didn't work, making sure she doesn't fall, of course. This is very much best practice oriented. There are best practices there, and it's very much introspective. When she's on the ice rim, her focus is completely on herself. There are no obstacles in the way. The ice rim is free, and it always looks the same, the ice rim. It doesn't change the situation she is in. Everything is free for her. So the success depends on how well she shows her and presents her program to the audience there. And a bit maybe luck what grade she will receive for her program, but it's very much it's self-paced, self-controlled. Then it is the performance itself is not competitive. The full tournament, of course, is competitive. Who has the best performance? But while she is alone on the ice rim, there is no competitor there at the same time. She would have to focus on. The focus is on own performance. She's implementing the program and endless iterations. This is how she trained for this one moment when she shows her performance. And there are some risks when she's presenting her performance, but these risks are known in advance. She knows where the moments are, where she may fail, where she may fall, of course, where may she do some things wrong, get out of rhythm, or whatever it is. So this is closed skill, this is trainable. And there are several sports disciplines that are very much closed skill disciplines. Typically, these are disciplines where the sports person, the man, woman, is alone on a field or on the ice rim or wherever you are. On the other extreme, we have open skill. Open skill disciplines are changing. The situation is changing from one moment to the next. Ice hockey is a very good example here. It's very, very fast. And in every given moment, the players, the own players, but also the competitive players are somewhere else. And they are in the same ice rim. So they play against each other at the same time. They have to respond to each other, react to each other, to the own people, to the others. And everything is changing. So it is retrospective, and it's very much externally paced. What are the others are going to do? What is the situation? Where's the puck? The puck can be anywhere at every moment. And it's always competitive. Sometimes they do brawling. They are focused very much on interaction, adapting to circumstances. So this is the open skill side. And the nice thing with skating is that there is something in between. And this is speed skating. They have a race around the course, and during their skating when they're on the track, first of all, each one has his own track or her own track. So they are more or less undisrupted, but they have to observe the other racer. If they are too fast, they may fall. If they are too slow, they will lose, of course. And every other round, they are crossing the tracks. So in these moments, they have to take care that there is no collision there. So this is somewhere in between those two extremes of closed skill and open skill. In my seminars, I often asked my attendees, where do you see project management? Do you see it more on the left-hand side? Do you see it more on the right-hand side? And people, with some very, very few exceptions, people said, we are on the right-hand side, on the situational side. We are somewhere between the ice skaters and the hockey players. Maybe we are just like the hockey players. This is moving and changing very, very fast. Project management very much is an open skill discipline. So this is where the whole thing starts. And sometime I wrote a book on that. This is the entry topic to my book. It's called Situational Project Management, The Dynamics of Success and Failure. And this is where this book starts, that it asks, okay, if project management is open skill, if project management is situational, how do we approach that mostly in two questions? One question is, when are agile methods helpful? When are they not helpful? And the other side, something we will not discuss that much today, I think, is about behavioral things. Behavioral things, are you more a power player? Are you more a team player, maybe? Are you more the person who helps others grow and supports others, or more competitive against each other, others, and so on? This is the other part of the book, not part of this 1 hour discussion that we have today. But it all starts with the understanding that project management is open skill and that we have to manage changing situations. So we have to adjust our behaviors at the same time.
Okay. So anyone has any question about them? So let's talk a little bit Agile and situational project management. How are they related, if they are related? Some dimension.
Let me show you how they are related. Another part of the book, and I also wrote an article on that. Another part of that is the question, when are agile methods helpful? When are they not helpful? And I developed a typology of projects, not alone. I did this together with a group of experts. We were, I think, 7 experts, and we had altogether over 300 hours of experience. We're all very experienced and seasoned colleagues of mine, trainers. It were people from a magazine, from a special interest magazine, and so on. And we talked about the question, what is helpful? What is helpful, or when is, say the other way around, when are agile methods really helpful to project managers, and when are they not helpful? And let me show you here what we found out. Have to just find my graphics again. I like to show graphics in such a moment because I think they are very, very helpful here. I have it, and this is now taken from my book that I just showed you. I have to share the screen again. Just 1 second. Share screen. And there it is. Yeah. So we did some research on that. And the question was, when are agile methods helpful? When are waterfall methods helpful? I will explain in a minute what this actually is. We have to go into more detail what these really mean and what they are about. And again, we had something in the middle. The world is not black and white here. It's not just waterfall and agile. A lot of people tell you that, unfortunately, including people at PMI. But of course, this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. We don't have 2 approaches and nothing else. Waterfall means we have a plan that goes to the very end of the project, or If we have a project cut in phases, at least the end of the current phase of our project, we have a long-term plan, very, very long-term plan. Agile means we have a very short-term plan. And there's something in between. Terms for that are rolling wave. That's my favorite term. Another term you may see from time to time is iterative incremental. And another one, again, is progressive elaboration. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And all three are mentioned in PIMBA guides and everywhere else. So this is not my invention. They have been around for a long time. And the methods also have been around for a long time. Rolling wave, the oldest description I've seen of rolling wave, at that time called rolling planning, but it was the same thing, was from the 1960s. So this is now 60 years ago, over 60 years ago, that people used this kind of method, this family of methods, maybe, where you have a planning horizon somewhere between waterfall and agile. I can later explain a bit what this is. And now what we developed here was a typology of projects. This is astonishingly, no one has done that before. No one really developed a working typology. How are projects sometimes similar? How can projects be different? Yeah? Something to classify projects and to help people understand which methods are appropriate in which moments. By the way, on the right-hand side, we will not discuss this too much, but what you see here on the right-hand side are behavioral methods. This is work. This is work based on work of a U.S. scientist, Jean Lipman-Blumen. She comes from the Peter F. Drucker corner. Yeah, she worked with Peter F. Drucker. She worked for President Carter, Jimmy Carter, when he was president in the US. So she's a bit from this field, and she developed a behavioral model that I'm also using here. And we can say all these behaviors can be right in predictable and in exploratory projects. We see both, everything is green here. If something is not suitable, then you find something in red in here. You find it particularly with this competitive style in here. But again, not our topic for today. Could be a topic for another session here. What we focus on is the left-hand side. And the left-hand side asks, in certain types of projects, which is the more appropriate way to manage them. And one group of projects was predictable projects. Predictable projects are projects, you can do long-term predictions in these. It means at the same time, typically, you have to do long-term predictions. These are projects where you are not moving forward in small increments, small steps. These are projects where you have the opportunity to do long-term predictions. And often this is at the same time the requirement of you. You are working with lead times. You have to book people early so that they will be available for your project when you need them. You have to book maybe machinery or software licenses. Often it's just office space, workspace that you have to maybe to rent, and you have to rent it today so that it will be available for your team in 2 weeks time, or maybe even 2 months time. So there is lead time in that. You may need contractors. The contractors are not just sitting around. Vendors are not just sitting around and waiting for business to come. Good vendors are busy, so you have to find them early and you have to talk with them early. I need you in September to do some work for me. You may have to do this discussion in March. And by the way, to find them, you may need a procurement process. You need a process maybe together with your purchasing department. They may help you to find these people. So you have a business development process in front of that before you really can discuss with them when you will need them. First, you need to do the commercial side and have to develop a contract, which adds even more lead time to that. You need it when you have external people. You need it when you have internal people in your project to book them. Then many projects, they touch operations. Operations must provide predictability and order to the organization. That's their major metric. how much do you meet those predictions that you told us you will meet? To what degree do you meet your predictions? And is everything in order, or are we going into chaos somewhere? They have to provide predictability and order. And now with our projects, we are disrupting operations, a very common thing in projects. We disrupt operations, and while we disrupt operations, they have a problem because they cannot provide the predictability and order that they have to provide. So we have to provide it to them as well as project managers. And this means we have to do some long-term predictions in here so that they know, when will the disruption begin? When will it end? How much disruption are we going to do there? Operational disruptions, it's astonishingly a cost factor in projects that is not described. I don't see it in literature. And it is a big cost factor. Everyone asks, yes, what is this project? What are the costs of the project? What is the budget? And so on. No one asks, hey, how much money are we going to lose because there will be a project in our operations, touching operations, disrupting them. And this may also cost us money in form of reduced productivity, reduced effectiveness, efficiency, and so on. So there are many reasons why we may need to provide predictability and order in our projects. And what you see here is, this is the top diagram here. This is in such a predictable project, and where also the requirement is on predictions. This is the world where waterfall is at home, and actually rolling wave is still quite good. Not as good as waterfall, but still on the positive side. Agile cannot do that. Agile methods are not there to provide predictability and order. And that's no criticism. They were never made for that. Never, ever had anyone developed Agile methods with the idea in mind to provide predictability and order. The idea in mind is you are on an exploration tour, on a discovery tour. There's something to discover, so we cannot do long-term predictions because we have no idea what the thing will be that we are going to discover. It could be discovering user requirements. It could be discovering market conditions and many other things. It could be creativity. Creativity is an exploration in people's brains. Yeah? So that's also explorative. And in such a project that is driven by exploration and by discovery, we see the opposite thing. Now we see waterfall in a problem because they make long-term predictions. That's what they are there for. So what they have a problem with is when things don't go as expected, when something new comes in, when there are surprises. Surprises in a typical waterfall project are mostly negative. They hate these surprises. They have a plan for the next maybe 2 years. I have an example here in Munich. We have a new subway railway tunnel being digged under the old part of the city. And when you dig such a tunnel, you have to have a plan for 2 or 3 years. They know today what they are going to do in 2024. Yeah, on 15th of March 2024. They know this already today. They have to, because this is how they have to plan, how they have to track, how they have to do this tunnel. And as soon as some discovery happens, they find something out that was unexpected, it means they have to change this extremely elaborated plan, this big, huge plan. They put so much energy and time and blood of the heart into this plan. And now they have to change this. And it, again, takes a lot of time and energy. And they may lose time based on that. It's one of the reasons why mega projects are often late. Discoveries, something surprising happened. No one expected that. And now they have to work around that. So if your project is very much driven by discovery, if this is the driving force, then of course Agile methods are much, much better because they are made for that. They are made for discovery. In the Agile Manifesto, it talks about discovery. The Scrum Guide uses the word discovery. So discovery is the important aspect when Agile becomes valuable. And one thing you don't see in this diagram, but it's also described in the book, it may not be the entire project. It could well be that a project has an exploratory phase or exploratory time, and then it has a more predictable time. And sometimes it goes then back to the exploration again. So it may well be that this is not true for the entire project, that this changes during the course of the project, because project management is an open skill discipline. That's the reason why we may have to change between those two. But I think this research is very helpful, because it tells us when agile methods are helpful and when they are detrimental.
Right. So I have a question, Oliver. It's a lot of people that probably they join this webinar because they want to know when to decide if I go agile, if I go situational, or now PMI call, all of those methodologies like predictive. So the question is, how? Sorry. So let me have the question that I wrote here. So how can a project manager identify the right approach to apply in a given situation? Are there any frameworks or decision-making tools that can help?
Indeed,
So, and because now, sorry, now, that's what I said, the people that I facilitate the PMP review courses. So you have, as a project manager, a lot of responsibility, because everything has changed. So with the way of working, PMI is calling it. So now you need to decide what approach is the best for the business. So how are you gonna deliver value? It's gonna be agile. It's gonna be it's gonna be waterfall. So now it's your responsibility before start the project to give that direction. So you should know what is the best for the organization, so they realize the benefits of the project.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
Yep. As far as I am aware of, the only work in this field is my book. Actually, I haven't seen any other work. You see some statements in a similar direction in the Agile Practice Guide, in PMI's Agile Practice Guide. But it's more talking about the basic principles. It doesn't really go into details. What you see here is, when I make this a bit smaller, and when I make this a bit smaller, then you see I have many graphs like that, where you see that why is this gray? This should be colored. Sorry. They are normally all colored. Yeah. So you see that we sometimes have a situation where waterfall is detrimental. Then we have a situation where agile is detrimental. That's what the red color is telling us. Yeah. Sometimes we have situation where it doesn't matter. You can use all of them. So this goes very much into detail based on this, based on this typology that is developed in here. So the typology is then used for these assessments, and it's indeed the only work in this direction that I really I'm aware of. There may be something out there, but this is the only one that I am aware of at the moment. And I think the most important thing is whether you have to provide predictability and order, or where you should be open for discoveries. Yeah. Interestingly enough,
I have Ali. He's raising his hand.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ali.
Thank you, Dr. Tony, and hi, Oliver. It's absolutely a pleasure talking to you both.
Thank you.
I'm a great fan of you, Oliver. I follow you on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you.
So my question is about this particular graph. On the y-axis, there are a few numbers. What do those numbers represent?
Yes, the numbers represent. Where was it? Hang on. This was just running away. Blurred, and no, must be more down there. No, go up again. I have several of these fields here, and greenfield brown. Where is it? Hi, don't find it anymore. High impact, blurred, focused. Yeah, predictable and exploratory. What it means is the following. on a scale from 1 to 3, we had the experts. They were asked to assess their opinion and what, in their opinion, whether a method like water, or a family of methods, that's the better term here, family of methods like waterfall, like rolling wave, like Agile, whether they see them as positive or negative. So these are now actually, it was a scale from 0 to 5, or better, from -5 to +5. -5 was extremely detrimental. +5 was extremely positive. So what you see here is already the averages between these opinions. And if the number is positive, it says this is appropriate and this is beneficial. If the number is negative, and you see here the red dots to highlight that, it says this is detrimental for the project or for the project situation. Today, I think I would rather say project situation, because it can change over the course of a project. But you can only go into a certain level of detail when you do analysis like that. You have to do some simplifications. So we talked about projects here. But minus numbers mean detrimental, and the larger the number, the more detrimental it is. And green, positive numbers, stands for favorable.
Yeah, I think that so to answer the question for Ali, the numbers there is in the Likert scale. So these charts came from research. So in the surveys, people answered for this type of projects, where in the scale are those projects. So that's basically the number that are reflected there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So basically that is on individual experiences, not any framework used for that?
This is the idea, to develop a framework. It's not using a framework, it's rather developing a framework.
Yeah,
it's the concept is to develop information that wasn't discussed and that wasn't accessible before. As far as I'm aware of, I always have to be careful because I don't know all work there, but I know a lot of work here now. As far as I am aware of, which is quite reliable, this has not been done before.
Right, and this research was conducted in 2015 or 14?
15, yes. Yes, I published it in 2016, but it was done in 2015. Yes, exactly.
What was the size of the population participating in the research?
It was not a big size population. It was because it was very personal. We had interviews here, and you cannot do too many interviews here. But I had a group of experts in here, and I have to find them somewhere. I have somewhere my list of experts in here. So these are trainers. These are people from magazines. These are people from universities. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it was all together. The experience that they brought in was several hundred years in total. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I would have to find the numbers, the exact numbers here. It's somewhere in here as well. Yeah. But it's a lot of experience coming in. But the question was not done as a questionnaire with lots of people. It was with people I know that they have experience and that they haven't. Oh, it was PMO people, by the way.
Oh yeah.
PMO people were there as well. Yeah. So these are people, and it's all people who are not in project management as such. These are people who have a certain distance to project management. They look at project management from a higher perspective. Yeah? In a PMO, you look at many projects at the same time. If you do a magazine, you write about many projects, you see many projects. You don't see them in detail. You see them from a higher position. And this was the kind of people I wanted to have here, people who have a lot of knowledge across projects, across many projects. Yeah.
Right. So did I answer your question, Ali?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think
yep, go on.
And the research was conducted in 2015, and now that's 8 years ago. So a lot of things have changed, I think.
This doesn't change. I think
Yeah.
that's very fundamental.
Right.
This is too fundamental.
Yeah, so I think that most of the challenges that people are having with those kind of changes and drastic change that we saw in the PMBOK version 7, and everything is some kind of confusing. So the project managers now, they don't know when to use this, when to use that. I think that's one of the biggest situations that we are facing today.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I think that the book is research-based. If you want to know more about us, there's a lot of information there by the time. So what research conducted with a lot of practitioners and researchers. And this is the results of the study that Oliver has in his book called Situational Project Management. So it's very similar to what happening today in the market with Agile, Scale Agile, all kind of things that is happening now. I think that I have a question from Tony. Tony, do you have a comment or question that you want to elaborate?
No, not really. I was just, commenting that, when we have high levels of uncertainty or unknowns of when, as Oliver was saying, of you may not know exactly when it could be predictable or rolling wave, or it could be more agile or situational based or, more closed based, that, using techniques like wicked problem solving or complex problem solving at a light level can help bring us to a determination at a higher level, say at the steering committee board level or C-suite level, to help with trying to derive what season or phase we're going to be entering or ending.
I think this is your responsibility as a project manager. I would not bring it on C-suite level or a project governance level, because we are not in a position where we do multi-project management. If you have multi-project management, program management, portfolio management, if you follow a strategic plan, if you have these things, this is C-suite level. They don't want to discuss what happens in individual projects, at least not from a certain company size on. Has to do with company size, of course. In a small company, they will more look into the individual projects, but from a certain size on, it's no more their job. There are too many projects. They don't have the time. They don't have the attention, the management attention. Yeah. It's one of my different theories in this book, by the way, that this is the #1 resource that we have, management attention. And when you have too many projects in an organization, you don't have the management attention anymore for each of these projects to make such decisions. I think this is a very, very native field of a project manager. It is not only linked to the specific project, it is linked to the specific project situation. The idea in situational project management, the basic tenet is the same approach, the same practice, the same method that has been successful in one situation may fail in another one. This is the basic tenet, and there is no standard way to go. There is no one size fits all. We have to look at the very specific situation and then ask ourselves, what is now the right way to approach this situation? And we have to do this again and again and again. And the question with Agile, rolling wave, waterfall is only one question that we have here. We have so many other questions where we have to ask ourselves, how are we dealing with that? Let me give you my favorite example for that. You see here on this page, greenfield projects and brownfield projects. And this is actually where I have my favorite example. This has now nothing to do with waterfall and Agile. It goes in a different direction, but it's a very strong example. You may have heard of a troubled project in Germany, in a city called Stuttgart in the south of Germany, where there is a central station project, which is now, I think, 9 years behind schedule and far over original budget. And what actually brought this project into these difficulties was the project manager who originally managed this project. He had a philosophy on project management. A philosophy, the world around the project is hostile. Keep the world around the project out of the project. Don't talk with people. Don't talk especially with politicians, but also with other people. Don't talk with them. Just do your project and keep everyone out of the project. He was, in a previous project, highly successful with this approach. And this was another central station. This was the central station in Berlin. Berlin Central Station, if you ever have a chance to see that, it's one of the most impressive station buildings you will find all around the world. It is very, very impressive, and it's very practical and well working, really a great thing. And then the same project manager came to Stuttgart, and with the same approach, he failed in Stuttgart. What was the difference between Berlin and Stuttgart? Why was he successful with his approach in Berlin, but not in Stuttgart? Berlin was a greenfield project. It was literally, not only as a metaphor, it was literally a greenfield project. It was on the greenfield between the old parts of the city when it was separated, East Berlin and West Berlin. There was a border area between, with lots of defensive things by Eastern Germany to prevent people from fleeing their country. So, and now this was all gone, and there was a huge green field in the middle of the city, and this was where they built the central station. And there it was the right thing to keep everyone out, to keep politicians away. Politicians can destroy a project, really destroy a project. So he said, no, we want to keep them out. We just want to build our main station, our central station, without any disruption. Then he took the same approach to Stuttgart. In Stuttgart, the topic of the construction is to turn the station by 90 degrees. At the moment, it's still a terminal station. It's a dead end way for the trains. They come in and then get out again the same lines, which is a horror for railway people. You have tracks, and trains can run in both directions on the same tracks. This is a horror for every person who has to control such a thing. What you prefer is run through stations where trains come in from one side and leave on the other side. Makes life much easier. And this is what they are going to do. And they have to drill tunnels under hills. Stuttgart, around the station are hills. So they have to drill tunnels under these hills. And on top of these hills are people living. This is what we call a brownfield project. Someone is already there. And the people there at one point in time got aware that there are some dangerous rock layers under these hills, and exactly where they wanted to drill these tunnels. I think it's called, even internationally, it's called, using a German word, Gipskuiper. Gipskuiper is a rock. If it gets wet, it starts swelling. And when you have houses on top, they can burst open. That has already happened. It's very dangerous, this stuff. And they said, hey, we know this is under our houses, and you're going to drill a tunnel there. Please tell us how you want to protect our houses. And he rejected to talk with them. By the way, I talked about this with the team members. I talked about this with the people who live there at the same time. It's the city where I come from, Stuttgart. Okay. And he rejected to talk with them. And then they came back, and they didn't come alone. Rejected stakeholders in such a situation, they bring friends with them, and lawyers, and the press, and tree huggers, and lots of others. And they brought the project to a screeching halt. And then it had to wait about a year until they could start it again, and until this project came up to speed again and could work again. They lost a lot of time, and much of the time lost that we see today still goes back to this time. So what was right in Berlin in a greenfield project was wrong in Stuttgart. And by the way, you see this on the diagram, what my experts said, without me, by the way. I did not contribute to that. It was just them. And what they said is, you cannot be competitive in a brownfield project. In a brownfield project, you have to take care of people. You have to talk with them. You have to take their concerns and their fears and maybe also their wishes and needs and so on. You have to take it all seriously, and you have to talk with them. You cannot be competitive. And his rejection of talking with them is a competitive behavior. And this was wrong at the time. And it's funny, but this is exactly what my experts said about brownfield projects. You cannot be competitive. Everything is right, yeah, and you can be waterfall and agile and so on. Doesn't matter here, yeah, but you cannot be competitive. So this is the basic concept of situational project management, that the same behavior, the same method, the same practice that was successful in one moment may fail in another one.
Right. So I have a comment in the pinball guide in the 7th edition. So PMI included. I think that they also have the same thing in the version 6. So they introduced the topic of tailoring. So they have a chapter in the version 7 that said project tailoring. So that means it's basically what you're saying with at that time, 8 years ago. So they didn't have that, but you were some kind of visionary that you come up with that concept of situational project management. But what they say now in the project tailoring is every project is different. Every situation is different. So you need to tailor the practice to the situation that you are facing now. Not the situation that you faced 1 year ago when you have some kind of similar project. So I have another question. So I think that also the audience, if you have any questions for us, let's take advantage of Oliver's time. So you have another book. So I show that in the background, Project Business Management and Situation, that the one that you wrote 8 years ago, the project situational management. So how are those concepts related? Project business management and situational. So how you related to titles?
When my experts, I was just the interview partner. Yeah, when my experts developed this typology, they had one dimension. We had different dimensions like greenfield, brownfield, or predictable and exploratory. But one more that they brought in was customer projects and internal projects. And I found this very, very interesting. Customer projects means you work for typically one external customer. Your project is no more a cost center. Internal projects are cost centers, but customer projects are profit centers. And it really jumped into my eyes. We have no literature. We have no education. We have no PMBOK guide, no standards so far. We have nothing to help people in customer projects. By the way, these two things, the approach, waterfall, rolling wave, agile, and the different achieving styles that I looked here, they were not that different here. There were no big differences here. So obviously the different practices that we need, the differences in approaching them are on another level. And I said, hey, I want to know more about that. And actually, this is where I come from. When I was a practitioner in project management, I always did customer projects. I had 1 or 2 internal projects, but the majority, the vast majority, was projects for paying customers. I come originally from automotive industry, so this all reached into production, in automotive production, into production of components in particular. My focus was very much on castings, on aluminum castings especially. So this was the field where I was active, and it was always done for paying customers. What I did. So
sorry, Oliver,
yes.
I have a question from Monsieur. So is there any technical knowledge that you can share to help us define when to use which method? Being situational seems to be more like a mindset thing instead of an actual method.
It's not a
And
method. I wouldn't call it a method. It's a mindset thing. It's okay to me. It means to have an open mind for changing situations. It is not a method. I would not call it. Maybe it's a method to select methods, if you like. Yeah, but maybe that's already too much. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a mindset. It's an understanding of the core requirements on a project manager, where you go through a continuous learning process. You learn something new every day, every hour sometimes. And how do you process that, and what do you make out of that? So this is not really a method. I wouldn't call it a method. We are selecting methods.
right.
Yeah.
But I think
And
that
yeah.
I think that she's looking for some method, process, or procedure that she can follow in order to determine if I go this way, I go the other way. But I think that PMI, they try to do that with the project tailoring. If you look at those chapters in those books, you have the version 6 and version 7. So they explain I think the idea that they have in choosing what gonna be the right approach for the project. So I don't know if it answered your question when you said technical knowledge. It's basically, it's like it's something that the technical knowledge is the analysis or the gap analysis that you can conduct talking to people, understanding the situation that you are addressing with that particular project. So you should decide, that's a decision-making process. You need to decide what is best to achieve the goal or the objectives of the organization. Yeah. So you have now a lot of tools. So that's the complexity that we are living now. We have Agile, we have Interactive, we have Scrum. You say Agile, but it can be a Scrum, it can be a stream programming, it can too many things to decide, but now it's in your hand to decide that. So Tony was saying something about the governance of the project management office. Do you have one can help in establish some kind of governance and procedure that facilitate the life of project managers?
Yeah, I have one problem with the section on customization. It doesn't go into detail what to do and how to do it. It says you have to do it, and I 100% disagree. I 100% agree with that. There's no way to disagree with that. I 100% agree with that, but then it leaves you alone. Then it doesn't give you a practical help. And this was my idea, to give people a practical help. And the other thing is to give people the understanding that this is right. How often are we told there are best practices in project management? How often do we hear this term? And what I tell people is there is no such thing as a best practice in project management. The same practice that is successful in one moment may fail in another one. Yeah. And this is just two aspects of that. One aspect is the planning horizon. How far into the future are you going to plan? By the way, this is a question that we don't only have in projects. You have the same thing in your private life. You have the same thing in family. You have the same thing in politics. How far into the future can you reach with the decisions that you make and with the plans that you make? And the other question is, what are the achieving styles? What are your personal styles that you use to achieve certain results? And the most difficult one here is really competitive. Competitive, there are moments when it is good to be competitive, and there are other moments when this is absolutely detrimental and can destroy your project. Think of Stuttgart 21. This competitive behavior was bad in Stuttgart 21. It was good behavior in Berlin Central Station, and the projects look so easy similar on the first glance, and so it looks so easy, but then you go into details and you find out, hey, it is really complex here, and I think people need some help at this point. Yeah. And back to project business management. This was the starting point of my work in project business management that consumed me now since 2018, 5 years now. My focus is very much on the question, How do you make projects profitable when you do them for customers? Customer projects have to bring money out. How do you make sure that it's profitable? Then look at cash flow. The contractor lays out money for the customer. That's a normal situation in such a project. You lay out money for your customer. So how do you make sure that it's not more than you can afford, especially if you have a portfolio of projects? You have 50 projects in your portfolio, and no one takes care. Hey, over all these projects, how much money are we laying out? Can well be at one point in time we notice, hey, we are no more able to do our job because we are running out of money and no one took care for that. Yeah. So this is a question. And of course, another question is we want to make customers happy, not just satisfied, happy, because we want them to come back and bring friends with them. Maybe press, no, not lawyers, but press maybe.
Right. Anyone has some other question?
I see the message from Steve. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. In the chat.
Yeah, so I'm running this poll there. So I posted so I came up with this idea of handing badges. I posted the badge for all the attendees in the chat. So can you see it? And also, you can have one PDU for your certification if you want to apply for these sessions on PMI website. So you can have one PDU, and you can put it like in the way of knowledge. It's the way of working. So that's the division. So anything else that you would like to know about this? So all the information. So as we have said, there is a book. I also posted the.
Okay. It's not a sales session. I don't see this as a book sales session, but if someone wants to dig deeper, I go into things like game theory and some other things in the book. Yeah, but I think this is the core topic that we have today. And if someone wants to dig deeper, then my recommendation is to order the book. You can get it over Amazon or wherever you like, of course. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not meant as a book selling session, but it's the only book I'm aware of that goes that much into detail in this topic.
Right. I haven't seen all of it. So thank you very much, Oliver, for your time. I know you are a very busy person, and thank you everyone for attending this webinar, the Situational or Agile. So you have a little piece of information that can help you in moving forward in your profession. So with that being said, thank you everyone, and have a good rest of the day.